Hey, this is Rick Brandenburg for Turf Bugs and Rock and Roll. And a couple weeks ago, we did a video where I talked about how a homeowner made contact with me and was asking about white grub control and what products to use and when to apply them. And I emailed them back and supplied them with that information. And they simply came back and said, well, my information says that I should not in July, which is what my research has shown is the best for the whole spectrum of grubs that we have here in North Carolina. He said, my information says, yes, it's spray in April, so I don't think you know what you're talking about. So I emailed back and basically told him why I said that and based on this scientific research. And he replied back and said, well, he Googled it and he liked his answer better. And we talked about how ridiculous that was. Well, I'd kind of forgotten about it. And a few days ago, he came back. And how I told him it was time, August was the time when the eggs were hatching out. And he said, I've got evidence to prove you wrong. He said, you don't know what you're talking about. And that he had found raccoons and birds in his backyard, and he dug down, and here in early April, he could find large white grubs. So therefore, treating in April was the best time to do, and was the best time to treat, and I was wrong. So anyway, I actually took the time to respond, and I said, no, what you're finding is large third instar grubs that have overwintered. They're very difficult to control this time of year. And in May, they'll pupate. In June, there'll be beetles out, and they'll lay eggs in late June, early July, and there'll be small grubs. And that's why we treat in July in North Carolina, because that is the optimal time to get control. And I said that's based on decades of evaluations of products, and it's based on, our knowledge of the biology. So you can treat in April if you want. And in May, you won't find any grubs because they'll all have pupated, and you'll think you've proved me wrong. But then you'll still have a white grub infestation most likely in August, September, October, and when they get big again, they're hard to control. So you can go with whatever answer you want. And he basically then emailed me back and said I was arrogant, conceited, vain, and a lot of other terms, and referred to me again basically as an idiot, and that I did not know what I was talking about. And I said, well, I replied back in and said, this is based on 36 years of me studying grubs in North Carolina. But please feel free to do whatever you want. If you think the service you've got from North Carolina State University and the Cooperative Extension Service is not up to the standards you think, that's fine. Sorry about that. I tried my best. I give you information that I know is reliable and accurate. And, I've done a lot of work on it, and I'm the expert on it. There are a lot of other things I'm not the expert on, but when it comes to killing grubs and turf in North Carolina, I do know what I'm talking about. And he basically said, your arrogance is intolerable. I've got the right answer. Get lost. So, and I know a lot of you are laughing, and that list includes, Brian Steeler, Fred Yelverton, Cale Bigelow, people like that like to see me abused. But anyway, probably most of you are laughing. But here's the reality of it. That story is not about me. What that story is about is people that look for information from experts and completely reject it if it doesn't agree with their pre-existing opinion. And this was a classic case. The guy, if he wants to treat in April, he can. The grubs will disappear because they pupated. He'll think he'll had success. He'll have them back again most likely in the fall if we have a summer with good rainfall. There may be one or two other people in North Carolina that know more about white grubs than I do, but I know quite a bit. It's one thing I do know. Yet he completely rejected it for whatever reasons and was rather, obnoxious in his response to me. But we see that in everything. We see it in people's opinions about glyphosate. We see it in people's opinions about COVID-19, about politics, everything else. You can go to experts, and if it doesn't fit your line of sight that you have for how that problem can be addressed, you're going to reject it. It's a real problem for us. It's a real problem for us in science. It's a real problem for us in the turf industry because we base everything on science. And when homeowners and consumers and advocacy groups or whatever say, I don't buy it, there's very little you can do. So anyway, I thought you'd find that story humorous, that I was put in my place and treated rather poorly. But it's unfortunately something that happens far too common because people can simply Google it and find the answer they want. Hope you enjoyed that. Look forward to talking with you again soon.